Last time I cooked carne alla pizzaiola, I used a very thinly sliced steak, and that was a very quick meal, and the meat was very tender. Today I will be doing a similar dish, but I'll be using a different cut of meat. This is top sirloin steak, or also rump steak in the UK, depending where you are in the world. I will be pairing it with potatoes, and I'll cook them with the meat. And look, this is a beautiful piece. It's about an inch thick. So first thing I'll do is to cut some vertical lines, and I'm going the side of the fat, by the way, and try not to remove the fat because it will add a lot of flavor. But I'm not going all the way. If you look, I'm just leaving enough so that it doesn't fall off, and I'll leave about a couple of centimeters in between each cut. So very gently make sure that your knife is nice and sharp, and go as far as you can before you go all the way. I'm fishing for a few cloves of garlic, as I will be making a marinade which I will be rubbing onto my steak. So I'll crush the garlic though, so that it goes further. I've got here a garlic crusher, which is perfect, a good pinch of oregano, pinch of salt, followed by some pepper and some olive oil. And I'll pour it on top of my steak as it is, and I'll rub it using my hands, and I'll make sure that I cover the back, which is obviously still looking perfect like this, and I'll go inside each cavity with my fingers and making sure that the oil and the garlic and everything else is touching the entire base of my steak. This is the same saucepan I'll be using throughout the entire process. I'm making sure that I scoop every single drop of my oil, and I'll start searing my steak with the side down first. 15 seconds, and I just bend it around, and I'm beginning to seal all of the areas where the raw meat is visible. So I'll start with the external part first. I'll show you like this. Can you see? So then I'll turn it around, and I'll do each individual cut individually. And I'll use my fingers, as it is safe because it's not hot at all on this side. And I'll count up until 10, and then I'll do the other piece. So I'll show you here. This is done. So I'll turn over and I'll do this part now. A further 10 seconds, and you can see that this is done. So I'll move on to the next one, and so on until I complete the entire steak. And I think that is my last vertical cut dealt with. So if I now turn it around, you can see that it's beautifully and brown on this side, and also if I turn it this way, each individual cut has been properly seared. So I can turn this off for the time being, and I'll move on to the next set of ingredients. By searing the steak, I have locked all of the juices inside the steak, and I make sure that it stays lovely and moist as I cook it. And the outside will absorb all of the lovely juices of the sauce I'm about to make. And the vertical cuts ensure that it cooks evenly across the surface. I've just weighed 50 grams of dry breadcrumbs. You can also use fresh breadcrumbs if you like, in which case double the weight. And I'm making now the main sauce for the pizzaiola. So breadcrumbs here, followed by some Parmigiano Reggiano or Grana Padano. Some people also use pecorino. You can if you like, but generally pizzaiola tend to use more Grana or Parmigiano, but individual choices as always. And I'm adding a couple of dessert spoons if you're wondering, but all of the quantities and list of ingredients will be in the description, which you will find at the bottom of this video. So I've put some oregano in my meat earlier. I'm going to put some more oregano in my mix with breadcrumbs and cheese. Again, quantity is entirely up to you, but I'm putting about 1 teaspoon worth of oregano in there. I've already salted the steak, and there is Parmigiano in here, which is quite salty, so I can add salt at the end if I want to, but I will add a little pepper to my mix. And I'll go ahead and mix it all together, and you should have a nice and flavorized mix of breadcrumbs and cheese and oregano. So here's my steak, which has slightly cooled down, and I'll start by applying some of my mix of breadcrumbs on top of it, and also I'll go on the other side like this. And just like I did before, I'll make sure that I go inside each cavity, and I'll make sure that it's covered with breadcrumbs. Even if it comes off, doesn't matter, it's the initial flavor what we want. I think I might have said that I was using Parmigiano. Apologies, as I'm not. I've noticed that this is Grana, which is very similar to Parmigiano. So that was to show you can use anything you like. So Grana Padano is what I'm using today. This is a fresh tomato, and I'm slicing it in about 1/2 centimeter pieces. And I'm gonna do enough for my cats as it's going to go inside, but I'm sure I'll have some left over. This is cheddar, and I'm slicing 6 little pieces, and also this is pizza mozzarella. You can use fresh mozzarella if you like, but as I'm making a pizzaiola, I decided to go for pizza mozzarella today, so I'll do 6 pieces as I've got 6 cuts. And I'm going back into the steak, and I start filling the individual cuts with a slice of mozzarella, a slice of cheese, and a little piece of tomato. And I'm going to pick some of the thinner ones, otherwise I'll end up making a mess. So as I do it, I get hold of the part which I've done, and I'll start again. So mozzarella, cheddar, and a piece of tomato, and so on until I complete the entire steak. I mentioned that I was going to pair my pizzaiola with some potatoes, and today I'm opting for some sweet potatoes. No particular reason, just because they're a little bit sweeter and for a change. But you can use normal potatoes. I've done this dish with normal potatoes as well, and it's lovely, just as it is lovely with sweet potatoes. Little tip, do not cut them too thick, anything between 1/2 centimeter and 1 centimeter. And also I have given them a good scrub, and I kept the skin, as it is very good for you, full of fiber, as I often say. And make sure that they're very clean, of course. And I'm cutting them diagonally because I always think that they look a little bit more elegant at the end. And by the way, of course, you can skip the potatoes if you just want to cook the pizzaiola on its own. It's something that I'm doing, as they will absorb a lot of the flavor, and they will be very, very tasty. And you can also cook just potatoes like this, potatoes alla pizzaiola. Actually, I've done a dish in the oven though, and I'll post it up here if you would like to have a look, if you just fancy potato alla pizzaiola. And back to my breadcrumb mix. This is a tin of chopped tomatoes, and in it goes. I've just added a tiny little amount of water to wash the tin, so no waste, and I'll mix it all together using a fork. You will end up with something which looks very much like a baby mousse. You can see that the breadcrumbs have absorbed all of the tomato, and you get a very, very sloppy consistency. So I'm ready to start. Here is my, actually I've got those tomatoes left over. I'll put them in there, as we don't want to waste them, they can go. And I'll start by applying a little bit of my mix on the sides, and like this. I spread it using my fork, of course. I've just done a layer of potato, and I'll go with a little bit more of my mixture, so that I effectively have the potatoes in a sandwich of breadcrumbs and tomato. This way the potatoes will cook better, but also they will be absorbing more of the flavor coming from my mix. And I'll finish off by putting the rest on top, just like this. I have sliced the remainder of the mozzarella, and I'll place this on top of all of my potatoes, but not on top of the meat, as the meat has got its own mozzarella. And this will cook, and it will gradually filter down, and they will look absolutely beautiful, as well as tasting delicious. And you will have noticed that I've done all of this whilst everything is off the heat, which is considerably easier to work, and you know exactly where you are. But before it goes on, I'll put some olive oil on top of everything. So I'll start with my mozzarella and my potatoes, and then I'll go in the middle, just like this. And I'll finish off with a little bit more oregano, just on top of the mozzarella, as it will flavorize the cheese, and it will combine with the same flavor as everything else. At the moment my temperature is on maximum. You might be able to hear it and also see that it's beginning to sizzle. So I'll turn it down onto medium low. In my case it's going to be number 3 out of 9. If you've got a gas hob, turn it on minimum setting. And I'll place the lid on. And this will take about 30 to 40 minutes to cook, depending a lot on the potatoes. Mine are sweet potatoes, which take a little bit longer. So I'll check it and I'll let you know at the end. However, 10 minutes before the end, I will be adding also some capers and some olives, which are very typical of this recipe. So just keep it covered, and do not worry, it looks dry, but the tomatoes will really release a lot of water. The meat will release a lot of water, and you will end up with a beautiful juice at the bottom, and it will look absolutely stunning. So make sure that you keep it on a low temperature. So I'll see you in about 25 minutes when I add my capers and the olives. So 25 minutes in, and let me show you, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Can you see how much juice has been released? It looks really nice already, and the smell is pretty good actually. I'll taste the potatoes first to see where they are. I can see they're still hard, so they will need another 10 to 15 minutes. However, I did say I was going to add some capers and some olives, so I'll do that now. So capers can go in. This is 1 teaspoon of capers, which I have rinsed in water. They are very salty, so ensure you do that, otherwise you might spoil your dinner. And olives, these are olives I keep under oil, in olive oil, and I've got a combination of pitted green and black olives. There is also the odd sun-dried tomato. I'll put it in as well. And entirely up to you how much you put in, really. I'm gonna go for a good couple of spoons, and I'm dragging along also purposely a little olive oil, which has been marinated with the olives and adds even more flavor. Now you might have noticed that I've got an onion tin there, and I did not use any onions. That is on purpose, because I wanted the onion tin to remind me why I didn't add any onions in this recipe, which I normally would. That is because of the sweet potatoes. Onions are very sweet, and so are sweet potatoes, and I want to make sure that the dish retains a good balance of a savory dish, and by putting sweet potatoes I decided to drop the onions. However, if you were to use normal potatoes, or indeed no potatoes, I would highly recommend that you add some onions, a large onion. And the way to do it is at the very beginning, fry it in a little olive oil. You chop it, you fry it in a little olive oil, make sure that it's lovely and tender, then you take it out, leave it to cool down, then you start searing your steak. Everything is the same, but then you mix your onion with your breadcrumbs and your cheese, so it becomes part of that mush, and then you can add it to everything else. So that is why I didn't use it today, because of that balance. So I put the lid back on. I'll leave it for another 15 minutes, as the potatoes are not quite there yet, but the olives and the capers will also deliver some beautiful flavor, and then it'll be ready, and I'll see you in about 15. This is a dish which I have only recently put together, and generally when I do something new, I always cook it the week before or a couple of weeks before, to ensure that by the time I do a video, I am confident with what I'm doing. And I have made this obviously last week, and I, just like today, I ended up with a lot of sauce, and I am going to share with you what I did with it, and it was really delicious. The day after, I cooked a little onion and let it fry, and then I also added some potatoes to my oil, and with the lid on for about 20 minutes. I toast them occasionally, and a little rosemary, and then I put a couple of sausages in that mix, and I added my remaining sauce, and I let it cook for about 20 minutes, and it was absolutely amazing. the flavor that came out clearly is something that you can only make once, because it's an outcome of this product, but it's a way to use any leftover liquid, or sauce I should say. So this is my steak, and I've got a spoon here, and I'm going to now dish some of my potatoes, and I'll put them around my steak, and I'll show you how I serve this at the table. I really like the orange color of the new potatoes. What do you think? I think they look great. So everything around it, and obviously inevitably I'm going to get some of this lovely sauce, and also place it on top of each potato like this. And all I've got left to do is to try some and let you know what it's like. I'm going to try also a little piece of potato and some of the meat. But I'm trying to be a little bit more reasonable with the size of the tastes I do, because sometimes they're too big. The meat is really tender, it cooked for a while, and then the potato is really sweet, so that balance works really well. And of course, if you make this, it's the law, it's compulsory for you to have a little bit of some more rustic bread, and you mop up some of the juices. This is the part of this dish which both Julie and I absolutely love. It's delicious. Try and make it and let me know what you think. And with or without onions, entirely up to you, but without the onions, if you use sweet potatoes, they're perfect. Thank you for watching and buon appetito. Ciao ciao.